Group lockout tagout procedures, as outlined in safety regulations, do not imply that only a single locking or tagging device is utilized for a group lockout situation. Instead, the regulations mandate that each authorized employee involved in the group lockout must affix their own, individually assigned locking or tagging device to the energy isolation point or points. This ensures that no single employee can remove the lockout tagout and inadvertently re-energize the equipment while others are still working on it. The purpose of lockout tagout is to prevent the unexpected energization or start-up of machinery or equipment, or the release of stored energy that could cause injury to employees. A comprehensive energy control program is vital. This program includes lockout tagout procedures, employee training, and periodic inspections to ensure the effectiveness of the procedures. Firstly, identify all sources of hazardous energy. This involves a thorough assessment of the equipment or machinery to determine all potential energy sources such as electrical, mechanical, hydraulic, pneumatic, thermal, and gravitational. Each energy source must be identified and documented. Secondly, develop specific lockout tagout procedures for each piece of equipment or machinery. These procedures should clearly outline the steps required to safely isolate and lock out all energy sources. The procedures must be specific to the equipment and easily understood by all authorized employees. Thirdly, train all authorized employees on the lockout tagout procedures. Training must cover the purpose and function of the energy control program, the specific hazards associated with the equipment, and the steps required to safely lock out and tag out the equipment. Employees should also be trained on the recognition of hazardous energy sources and the methods for controlling those energy sources. Fourthly, implement a system for applying and removing lockout tagout devices. This system should ensure that only authorized employees can apply or remove lockout tagout devices. Each authorized employee should have their own uniquely keyed lock or tag. The lockout tagout devices must be durable, standardized, and easily identifiable. Fifthly, conduct periodic inspections of the lockout tagout procedures. Inspections should be conducted at least annually to ensure that the procedures are being followed correctly and that they are effective. The inspections should be documented, and any deficiencies should be corrected promptly. Sixthly, ensure that all affected employees are notified before lockout tagout is implemented. Affected employees are those who work in the area where the equipment is being locked out or tagged out. They should be informed of the purpose of the lockout tagout, the expected duration of the lockout tagout, and the potential hazards associated with the equipment. Seventhly, safely shut down the equipment or machinery. This may involve following specific shutdown procedures to avoid damage to the equipment. The equipment should be brought to a complete stop and all moving parts should be de-energized. Eighthly, isolate the equipment from all energy sources. This may involve disconnecting electrical circuits, closing valves on hydraulic or pneumatic lines, or blocking moving parts. The isolation points should be clearly identified and accessible. Ninthly, apply lockout tagout devices to all energy isolation points. Each authorized employee should apply their own lock or tag to each energy isolation point. The locks or tags should be attached in a manner that prevents the energy isolation device from being reactivated. Tenthly, release any stored energy. This may involve discharging capacitors, bleeding hydraulic or pneumatic lines, or lowering suspended weights. Stored energy can be particularly hazardous, and it must be safely released before work begins. 11thly, verify that the equipment is effectively isolated. This may involve testing the equipment to ensure that it is not energized or that it cannot be started up. Verification is a critical step in the lockout tagout process, and it should be performed carefully. 12thly, perform the necessary maintenance or repair work. Once the equipment is safely locked out and tagged out, the maintenance or repair work can be performed. Employees should follow all safety procedures and use appropriate personal protective equipment. 13thly, remove lockout tagout devices only after the work is completed and the equipment is ready to be returned to service. Before removing the lockout tagout devices, the work area should be inspected to ensure that all tools and materials have been removed. 14thly, notify affected employees before restarting the equipment. Affected employees should be informed that the equipment is about to be restarted and that they should stay clear of the equipment. 15th, remove lockout tagout devices by the authorized employees who applied them. Each authorized employee should remove their own lock or tag. Lockout tagout devices should never be removed by someone other than the authorized employee who applied them. 16th, verify that the equipment is safe to operate. This may involve testing the equipment to ensure that it is functioning properly and that it is safe to use. 17th, restore energy to the equipment. This should be done in a controlled manner, following the specific procedures for the equipment. 18th, start up the equipment. The equipment should be started up according to the manufacturer's instructions. 19th, document the lockout tagout procedure. The lockout tagout procedure should be documented, including the date and time of the lockout tagout, the names of the authorized employees who applied the lockout tagout devices, and the reason for the lockout tagout. 20th, review the lockout tagout procedure periodically. The lockout tagout procedure should be reviewed periodically to ensure that it is still effective and that it meets the needs of the workplace. Failure to properly implement and follow lockout tagout procedures can have serious consequences, including injuries, fatalities, and fines. It is essential to prioritize lockout tagout safety to protect employees from hazardous energy. The specific requirements for group lockout tagout can vary depending on the regulatory jurisdiction and the specific hazards involved. Consult the relevant safety regulations and standards for detailed guidance. The key takeaway is that each authorized employee must apply their own individual lock or tag, ensuring that the equipment cannot be inadvertently re-energized while work is in progress. This collective responsibility is what makes group lockout tagout effective in protecting workers from hazardous energy exposure. Consider a scenario where a team of electricians is performing maintenance on a large electrical panel. The panel feeds power to several critical pieces of equipment in a manufacturing plant. To ensure the safety of the electricians, a group lockout tagout procedure is implemented. Firstly, the supervisor identifies all energy sources feeding the electrical panel. This includes the main power feed as well as any backup power sources. Secondly, a written lockout tagout procedure is developed specifically for this electrical panel. The procedure outlines the steps for safely de-energizing the panel and applying lockout tagout devices. Thirdly, all electricians involved in the maintenance work receive training on the lockout tagout procedure. They learn how to identify hazardous energy sources, how to apply lockout tagout devices, and how to verify that the panel is de-energized. Fourthly, a group lockout box is used to manage the lockout tagout process. The group lockout box is a secure container with multiple lock receptacles. Fifthly, the supervisor shuts down the electrical panel and disconnects it from all energy sources. Sixthly, each electrician applies their own personal lock to a lock receptacle on the group lockout box. The supervisor also applies a lock to the group lockout box. Seventhly, the supervisor places the key to the main power disconnect switch inside the group lockout box. Because the group lockout box is locked by the locks of each electrician, the key cannot be accessed until all electricians have removed their locks. Eighthly, the electricians verify that the electrical panel is de-energized by using a voltmeter to test for voltage at various points in the panel. Ninthly, the electricians perform the necessary maintenance work on the electrical panel. Tenthly, once the maintenance work is complete, each electrician removes their personal lock from the group lockout box. 11thly, the supervisor removes their lock from the group lockout box and retrieves the key to the main power disconnect switch. 12thly, the supervisor restores power to the electrical panel and verifies that it is functioning properly. 13thly, the supervisor completes a lockout tagout checklist to document the entire process. This scenario illustrates how group lockout tagout ensures that no single electrician can re-energize the electrical panel while others are still working on it. Each electrician has a personal responsibility to ensure their own safety and the safety of their colleagues. The use of a group lockout box provides a centralized and secure way to manage the lockout tagout process. Always consult the applicable regulations and standards for complete requirements. Always prioritize safety when working with electrical equipment or any other type of hazardous energy. Remember, the goal is to prevent accidents and injuries. The key to understanding group lockout tagout lies in recognizing that it's not about simplifying the process by using fewer locks or tags. It's about reinforcing safety by ensuring that every individual involved in the work has a direct and personal stake in energy isolation.